Welcome to Cheating Family Drama.
Mark and I were the perfect couple, or so it seemed. We met in college, two bright-eyed kids with big dreams. He was studying architecture, always sketching buildings that looked like they belonged in the future. I was in marketing, fascinated by how stories could shape the world. We fell in love fast and hard. Our wedding was a beautiful, sun-drenched affair in a vineyard, filled with laughter and promises of forever. We bought a cozy little house in the suburbs, the kind with a squeaky front porch and a big backyard perfect for a dog we always talked about getting. For 12 years, our life was a comfortable rhythm of work, weekend trips, and quiet evenings together. Mark was steady, reliable, and kind. He was my rock. But somewhere along the way, comfort turned into predictability, and my eyes started to wander. It started subtly. A lingering glance here, a flirty text there. Then I met Alex at a work conference. He was everything Mark wasn't. Spontaneous, a little dangerous, and utterly intoxicating. He was a photographer who traveled the world, and his stories were filled with adventure and excitement. Being with him made me feel alive, like the vibrant, carefree girl I used to be. The guilt was a dull ache at first, easy to ignore in the rush of a new, illicit romance. I started lying to Mark. Late night at the office, I'd say, my heart pounding as I drove to meet Alex. Girls' weekend, I'd text, while actually exploring a new city with my lover. I became an expert at deception, deleting messages, clearing my browser history, and creating elaborate alibis. I convinced myself I deserved this excitement. I told myself Mark was too boring, too predictable, that he didn't appreciate me anymore. The truth is, I was the one who had stopped appreciating him. Mark never seemed to suspect a thing. He'd greet me with a warm smile when I came home late, a plate of dinner waiting for me in the microwave. He'd ask about my work trips, listening patiently to my fabricated stories. Sometimes, I'd see a flicker of sadness in his eyes, but I'd quickly dismiss it. He's just tired, I'd tell myself. He was always so busy with his big project at the architectural firm, a career-defining competition to design a new city library. He poured his heart and soul into it, spending countless nights hunched over blueprints and models. He said winning this would set us up for life, allowing us to finally travel, maybe even start that family we'd once dreamed of. I'd nod along, feeling a pang of guilt, but the allure of Alex was too strong. I was living a double life, and I thought I was getting away with it. I thought Mark was oblivious. I couldn't have been more wrong. The day it all came crashing down was our 13th wedding anniversary. I had completely forgotten. I was supposed to be on a yoga retreat, with friends, but was actually shacked up in a fancy hotel with Alex. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Happy anniversary, my love. I have a surprise for you. Come to the old waterfront warehouse at 7 p.m. The one we always said would make a beautiful gallery. Dress up." My stomach dropped. I quickly made an excuse to Alex, threw on my clothes, and raced back to town, my mind a whirlwind of panic and lies. I arrived at the warehouse, a cavernous, dusty old building. It was completely empty except for Mark, standing in the center under a single spotlight. He was holding a single perfect red rose. He looked handsome, but his eyes were cold, completely devoid of the warmth I was used to. "Happy anniversary," he said, his voice flat. "I know, Sarah. I know everything." My blood ran cold. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. He then began to speak, his voice calm and measured, which was somehow more terrifying than if he had been screaming. He recounted every lie I had told him, every late night, every business trip. He knew dates, times, and even the name of the hotels. He had known for months. He explained that he'd first become suspicious when he saw a charge on our credit card for a restaurant I said I'd been to with a girlfriend who was out of the country at the time. A small crack in my web of lies. Instead of confronting me, he started digging. Quietly, methodically. He wasn't just my quiet, unassuming husband. He was an architect, a man who lived by details, precision, and structure. And he had applied that same meticulous planning to uncovering my betrayal. He pointed to the corner of the vast, empty room. "Remember my big project? The library competition?" he asked. I nodded, confused. "I won," he said simply. "A few weeks ago, actually. The prize money, the prestige, it's all real." A wave of shock hit me. He had achieved his dream. "But that's not all," he continued, a bitter smile playing on his lips. "With the prize money, I put a down payment on this building. Our building. Remember how we used to walk by and dream of turning it into a gallery and cafe? Our shared dream." He let that sink in. Then came the final blow. "I've filed for divorce, Sarah. The papers were delivered to our house this morning. I've also sold the house. The new owners take possession in 30 days. I couldn't breathe. My home? Gone? He had dismantled our entire life, piece by piece, right under my nose, while I was off chasing a cheap thrill. My lawyer has a full record of your extracurricular activities, he said, his voice cutting like glass. The affair, the money you spent on him from our joint accounts. You won't be getting much in the settlement. He walked towards me and placed the single rose on a dusty crate. I wanted you to see what you threw away. Not just me, us, our future. This building. This was supposed to be our second chapter. He looked at me one last time, and for the first time I saw the immense pain I had caused him. It wasn't just sadness. It was a profound, soul-crushing disappointment. "Goodbye, Sarah," he said, and then he turned and walked out of the warehouse, leaving me alone in the vast, empty space that was supposed to represent our future. I sank to the floor, the silence of the empty building echoing the emptiness in my heart. The aftermath was brutal. I lost my home, my husband, and a significant portion of my financial security. When I went to Alex, looking for some kind of solace, he was gone. He said things had gotten too complicated. He was a thrill seeker, not a partner. I was just part of his latest adventure, and now the adventure was over. My friends, who I had lied to and used as alibis, were distant. They pitied me, but they couldn't respect me. I was completely and utterly alone, a ghost in the ruins of a life I had single-handedly destroyed. I had to move into a tiny, soulless apartment on the other side of town. Every day was a stark reminder of what I had lost: the comfortable home, the shared laughter, the steady love of a good man. I had traded a lifetime of warmth for a few fleeting moments of heat. Months later, I drove past the old warehouse. It was transformed. A beautiful sign hung above the door. The Phoenix Gallery. It was thriving. Lights spilled out onto the street, and I could hear the murmur of a crowd inside. Mark had done it. He had built our dream without me. He had risen from the ashes of our marriage, stronger and more successful than ever. And I was the one left in the dust. The irony was crushing. I had called him boring, but he was the one who had the strength and vision to build a new life from scratch. I was the one who was left with nothing but regret, a hollow feeling that became my constant companion. I learned the hardest lesson of all. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. Sometimes, the most beautiful garden is the one you already have, the one you've nurtured and grown together. You just have to be willing to tend to it. I threw away a diamond while chasing glittering pieces of glass. Now, all I have are the sharp edges of my mistakes. My story is a warning. Don't let comfort fool you into complacency. Don't take a quiet love for granted. Because a quiet man can have the loudest resolve. And when he finally walks away, the silence he leaves behind is the most deafening sound you will ever hear. I hope one day he can forgive me, but I know I will never